Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, Dave. This is Joshua in Temperance, Michigan. After hearing Todd Monken was hired as the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns, it took me back to a few years ago when he was the offensive coordinator for the Georgia Bulldogs. Somehow he turned Stetson Bennett, who had no business being a starting quarterback on any SEC team, into a serviceable quarterback for a national championship team. That is near miracle level work, so I really can't poo-poo this hire for the Cleveland Browns. I think he's a good offensive mind. He had the Ravens as a perennial top offense. Unfortunately, we may lose Schwartz because of it, but as far as offense goes, I think he's a good hire.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Jimmy, the Stetson Bennett one, and they didn't play offense until Kirby Smart hired him as the offensive coordinator. So, again, people that watch know I wanted Schwartz. I'm okay with Monken. I wanted a guy he's been a head coach in college. He went from an 0-12 team to like a 9-3 team in 3 years, Southern Mississippi. I wanted a guy that's been there, done that. He knows where some of the bodies are buried in Berea because he spent a year there and wasn't happy as a offense coordinator who didn't get to call plays under Freddie Kitchen.
Yeah, I don't know about the Stetson Bennett example, although, developing walk-on into a draft pick is a success of quarterback development. The other thing there is that Georgia, during Todd Monken's tenure there, had the best players on the planet on both sides of the football, which makes it a little bit easier to develop a quarterback, right? But your point, I think the overall point about Monken at Georgia is a good one. Georgia's offense has never looked that good before or since Todd Monken was there. In the entire Kirby Smart era, Kirby Smart's a conservative defensive coach who, for the majority of his time there, has run conservative offenses that are designed more to support the defense than to generate explosive plays and score a bunch of points, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that Georgia went back-to-back with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator, and there are other factors at play here, including NIL and the transfer portal, all the things, the talent's evening out, but their offense has clearly not been the same since. I mean, Georgia had freaking Zachariah Branch, who many were comparing to Tyreek Hill coming out of high school. We didn't hear much about Zachariah Branch this year, which is crazy to think that he'd go to one of the best college programs in the country and kind of get forgotten in a way. I think he's still going to be like a back end of the first round pick. He's going to be a better NFL player than he was a college player. But there's something to that Todd Monken modernized Kirby Smart's offense. Not only that, convinced Kirby Smart to modernize his offense. There's an element of managing up there that I think is very important, particularly in this Browns mess that Todd Monken knows so well. He's going to have a voice in decisions, and he's going to have to communicate with Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam about all of this stuff. And I think it's not the exact same thing, offensive coordinator to head coach, but it's still managing up. It's still getting a stubborn person who has been doing things a certain way. And by the way, in Kirby Smart's case, unlike the Browns case, it was working for him at a very high level. Getting a person like that to change their ways, I think, is a gold star on his resume for a franchise that needs to change its ways.